Have you ever heard of these small islands called Falkland Islands? No? I will explain. We have to go back to the year of 1592. The first sighting was by John Davis with his ship Desire. The Englishman Richard Hawkins arrived in 1594 and named them Hawkins, Maiden Land, a combination of his own name and Queen Elizabeth I the Maiden. Louis Antoine de Bougainville established the first settlement with French from Canada in 1764 on East Falkland. The settlement was named after Louis XV, named Port Louis. In 1767, the colony was sold to the Kingdom of Spain, and at that time already had 150 settlers. During the Spanish colonization, Port Louis was renamed in Puerto Soledad. The islands were named Islas Malvinas, which is still used today. The Briton John Byron landed in Port Egmont Bay in 1765 and took West Falkland into possession of the British Crown and founded the first British base, called Port Egmont. But the Kingdom of Spain wanted to control the whole Falklands, which led to the Falkland Crisis from 1769 to 1771. Superior Spanish soldiers came to Port Egmont and expelled the British. As a result, Great Britain threatened Spain with war, in which France wanted to join the Spanish side. So there were many conversations between the three countries, and as a result, Rich got the permission to return to Port Egmont. 3 years later, in 1774, the British gave up their base for economic reasons and because they needed the soldiers in America. However, the British never gave up their claim to the islands and left a British flag. After the Argentine May Revolution in 1810, the Spanish had to evacuate the islands in 1811. In 1816, Argentina achieved final independence from Spain and wanted to claim the islands. In 1823, the Argentinian government awarded the fishing and hunting rights to Luis Vernet, who arrived in the Malvinas in 1826 and lived from cattle farming. In 1829, Vernet got island commander and tried to use force against U.S. whalers with his monopoly, so that U.S. Navy destroyed Puerto Soledad and declared it to no man's land. 1832, the British returned to Port Egmont and forced the Argentinians to leave. The islands were officially controlled by Britain, and they founded in 1843 Port Stanley, which became the capital in 1845. Stanley became a naval base and got expanded and populated by many shepherds. During the First World War, the islands served as an unimportant naval base. During the Second World War, the crew was expanded because they thought of a Japanese invasion. After the Second World War, the UN tried to solve the conflicts, but in 1966 it came to an Argentinian private invasion in Stanley. But later, the importance of the islands changed. Fossil fuels were discovered, and the islands are an optimal base for territorial claims in the Antarctic. The Argentinian military dictatorship had economical problems, and Great Britain had political problems. In 1982, Argentina invaded the islands, so that Britain started with the reconquest. The war ended with a win for Britain. Because of the Argentinian invasion, Great Britain stationed soldiers, who are there still today. In 1990, Argentina and Britain established relationships. In 2010, Britain started with oil drilling. In 2013, in a referendum about the political status of the islands, 99% voted for staying a British overseas territory.